Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. Now I'm a little bit late to this video, so I do apologise for that. I was meant to release it last week, however I just never got around to it. I took the weekend away. So this is going to be the Skyline GTSR money method for update 1.48 and probably beyond, sent over to me kindly by Kurt in my Discord server, so massive thank you to him. So let's get straight into the video and talk about this absolute legendary beast and make some money with it. So first of all, we're obviously going to head over to the used car dealership. This is where you can find this car, the Skyline GTSR R31 from 1987. Comes with a PP rating of 446.90. As you can see in terms of the stats, nothing too mind-blowing. FR layout, 207 brake horsepower, weighing a fairly weighty 1340 kilograms, and of course is turbocharged, costing you only just 176,600 credits, so it's certainly not going to break the bank. But of course we're not done there. The first thing you'll want to do to build up this car is head over and slap on the wide body modification. After that, you then want to head into the wheels. Now you can realistically just pick any you want. It really doesn't matter too much. The only things that realistically need changing for these is going to be the width to wide and the offset to also wide. Just ensure you've got those on. In terms of size and such, it doesn't really matter. Next up for the rest of the aero is going to be a front type B, then onto the side once again a type B, then onto the rear, which is, you guessed it, once again a type B, and finally the rear wing, which is also going to be a type B. So overall, we're going to use some more racing items. The main one I'm going to focus on here is going to be the roll cage, which you must ensure is a roll cage type C. Things such as tyre offset and roll cages do affect PP rating. Next up, you're going to run this car on the racing mediums. Also ensure you've got a set of wets and intermediates. Body height is a fully customizable suspension, 125 front, 125 rear. Anti-roll bar is 6 for both, compression is 35 for both, expansion 45 for both. Natural frequency is 2.40 for both. Negative camber angle, once again, 3 for both. Toe angle, 0.05 outwards at the front and 0.15 inwards at the rear. Fully customizable LSD, torque set to 20, acceleration 40 and braking 5. Fully customizable racing transmission, a modest 270 to set this at. Just ensure that your gears match, including the final drive. Feel free to pause on that screen there. Then as you can see, we're adding no ballast and not restricting any power. Fully customizable ECU, downforce at the front, 116 and 250 at the rear. High RPM turbocharger with anti-lag set to strong, racing intercooler, racing air cleaner, racing silencer, manifold, as well as brake system, which can either be racing or carbon. Feel free to just pick any of those, it doesn't matter. Racing brake pads, handbrake normal, brake controller I do recommend, feel free to change this on the fly. Then we also have the racing clutch and flywheel, carbon propeller shaft, and pretty much every single upgrade. Bore up, stroke up S, engine balance tuning, polished ports, high lift camshaft, titanium connecting rods and pistons, racing crankshaft, and all of the weight reductions at both stage 1, 2 and 3, as well as increased rigidity. Feel free to pause at any moment if you need to slow this part down. In terms of the difficulty, I recommend running this on easy. Now this is going to be a 700 pp build, so the stop and wait method really does come in handy to reduce your overall time of running the events. Now this car will work for every single one of the 700 pp events, no problem at all. The main highlights is going to be the Mount Panorama, which is a fully dry 7-lap race. Does pay a little bit less, but a nice alternative. But of course the main one is a WTC 700 over at Le Mans. So this is a section where we talk about the build itself. Now Kurt did send this over in my Discord server, so if you do have any others, feel free to contact me at my business email or in the Discord server. I do eventually ensure that I get around to checking out all the builds you send over, and if it's good enough or up to date enough, I will go ahead and make a video on it for you guys. I always massively appreciate you guys sending over your builds, and just like this one, most of them are fairly fantastic. Now, I'll be totally honest, the Skyline GTSR was certainly a car I was just struggling to get my head around. I'd create a build, it'd work quite well, and then I'd try and change it up to just get a bit more performance out, and all of a sudden it would completely break the car and it would just drive like absolute trash. However, it does seem that this build is a fairly stable overall setup. Now in terms of its, I guess, best qualities, it's certainly going to be the grip and the way that it drives. It's a very beginner friendly car, so almost anyone can jump in this and use it very easily. So let's move on to the strategy next. This is a very simple car to run. The first thing you need to do is set it to fuel mix 6 and find a brake bias that is going to suit you and your driving style. Once you've done that, this car becomes almost a very easy and simple car to drive. In terms of the tyres, if you get a fully dry run, you can expect this compound of tyre to last the entire race. It's extremely kind to its tyres, and also in terms of fuel consumption, this can be very easily dragged out to 4 laps. Very easy, very simple. Just a bit of short shifting and you should be good for 4 laps of fuel per tank, which means that we're not going to be doing too much in terms of stopping here. Another side note is the fact that even on racing tyres, this car actually managed to handle itself very well in the wet, so you don't have to over panic about wet conditions. It's super simple to drive. Again, if it does get too bad, I do recommend not staying out too long, which I found out the hard way doing this. Now once you get to lap 2, I do recommend just keeping your eye on that weather radar. This is when rain's at its highest chance to come. There is a chance though that it may appear and completely miss the track and come down later on down the line, or there is a chance that it will just start absolutely opening the heavens and start raining down upon you for a good few laps early on. Now in terms of my run, this actually happened a little bit later than I typically expected. Usually towards the end of lap 2 is when I'm going to get a ton of rain absolutely scatter the track and just upset my entire run, and well, that's when it did start coming in, but mainly it started dropping down towards the latter stages of lap 3. So as soon as you see that rain coming in, you don't necessarily need to panic. As you can see, I stayed out here. As we got to the later stages of the lap though, this is when the rain really started taking its toll on the track. So just to be totally honest, make your own mind up on what to do depending on the type of rain. It did dry off quite quickly. We still had a few damp patches on the track, but by the time we came around to sort of the start to midpoint of lap 4, it was pretty much done and dusted at that point. Now obviously I have stayed out, I've managed to stay out on the dry compound of tyre through that wet rain. Again, it did hamper my time slightly, however the AI did also get caught up as well. So at this point I'm just going to box in just for fuel. I'm not going to worry about changing the tyres, they've barely been touched. Like I mentioned, this same compound of tyre can pretty much last you the entire race. However, of course, I am going to fill the car up to full, getting another 4 laps worth of fuel in the tank and ready to go. And at this point, I don't need to make another pit stop. I can go all the way to the end, completing 7 laps in just over 32 minutes. Because of how the weather conditions played out, there was just no way I was going to be able to do that stop and wait method. The AI was always going to get themselves onto that 7th lap before the 30 minutes ticked over. However, we did manage to get this event done and dusted rather quite easily. A time of 32 minutes 25 seconds, 0.809, 1.5 minutes in front of the second place AI. A fastest lap on lap 7 of a 4 minutes 5 seconds, so quite close to that 4 minute time barrier. Now in terms of the overall payout, we think we should all know this by now, 825k with that clean race bonus, and that is going to be the Skyline GTSR money method done and dusted. Massive thank you to Kurt for sending this in, and a massive thank you to all of my channel members. If you do want to become a channel member and support this channel, it is massively appreciated. And that's going to be it from me for this weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, guys. Peace.